Coming soon on UBC.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Daddy, surprise! Here is a pizza for you. Happy birthday to you. Daddy, you look not impressed.
My daughter, this is not meaningful to me. Hallelujah Natural Drinks is my ideal gift today.
Hallelujah Day. Hallelujah Ginger Tea Drink and Hallelujah Tamarind Drinks are the most perfect, nutritious and healthy products that help everyone to boost their immune system to get complete relief of most sicknesses like joint pains, cough, diabetes, blood pressure, easy digestion and many more, and certified by UNBS. For orders, find us at Bilateral House on Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, opposite MBI. Hallelujah Natural Drinks, perfect for your health. Hallelujah Day.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Today, of course, that causes a new beginning, and today being the 22nd of March 2021. Again, we do fast track towards the end of the month, and later on we usher ourselves into midday of the year. Quite a statement, but there it is. And of course today we do come as Good Morning Uganda to give you a current affairs, now also to cause reminiscence and remembrance onto what we do celebrate today, or actually the whole of this month. A couple of activities have caused celebrations because we do remember that at least it's coming to 100 years since we had the third arm of government, that is the legislature. Now that and more we will be taking you through, and of course tomorrow we will be hubbing, that word Priscilla will tell us in Nakasero, if that the word hubbing at the parliament, where we will be trying to engage an understanding or taking an evolution of the 100 years as parliament has evolved from the Ibeako, Legico, just up to Honorable Miss Kadaga sitting in that seat and causing judgment over the same house. But nevertheless, we do come every day, Monday to Friday, to give you our current affairs, sports, but also other topics that are quite of importance and concern. My name is Felix Nkunda, and I am with my colleagues Robert and Priscilla. Good morning, Priscilla.
Good morning to you, Felix Kunda. Priscilla Naloga here, and may I say it is the 22, which gives you a double number, which brings you to the 22nd day of March 2022. But nevertheless, there is another number that has a double digit in it, and it's going to cause a celebration once again in this very month of March. And that number is right behind me, 100, which has 100. We're celebrating 100 years of Parliament of Uganda. Did you know it has made 100 years? Some of you may be scratching your heads and thinking, 100 years? Since when? We got independence in 1962. Well, on Good Morning Uganda, we're going to put your facts right here. From today until tomorrow as we celebrate the Parliament of Uganda. Good morning to you, Robert.
Good morning, Priscilla. Good morning, Felix. And of course, good morning the entire globe, because we are watched in every corner of the world. So good morning everybody wherever you are and you're watching UBC TV border to border, and of course from different continents where you stand and view this wonderful broadcast every morning that begins from 6:30 to the hour of 9 a.m. when we crown it all with the world of sports. Priscilla is making time fly so fast. We're in 2021, but of course it is a darling to celebrate 100 years of Parliament. Yes, many, like Priscilla said, will think we had independence in 1962, but how come there are 100 years? Well, 1921, we had, of course, the LEGICO, the Uganda Legislative Council was there, but these are some of the facts you should be waiting for in this very program, and of course more to come tomorrow when we are at the venue itself, Parliament, where the celebrations will be kicking off.
Well, of course, speaking about events and everything that has taken toll, we do also cause remembrance again in this quite beautiful, but we did talk about standardization. I remember on the 13th, it was World Standards Day. A couple of agitators have come out, and probably spectators have come out to highlight that what is the role of Parliament in standardizing production. For example, how much should we, or socioeconomic development, how much should we blame Parliament for? It seems like we are blaming Parliament for each and everything. When you don't have a good road, you blame Parliament. When you don't have a good probably father or mother. Priscilla, how much should we be blaming Parliament?
Well, I think people only blame Parliament in the place of ignorance, of not knowing what actually constitutes of Parliament, what are the roles of Parliament towards service to Ugandans as a whole. So I think that is where the challenge comes in, and we are going to be tackling that challenge and helping you understand what the actual roles of Parliament, so that you throw your grievances to the right authorities, the right ministries, other than throwing them to Parliament all the time. So standardization, I believe that yes, Parliament may do have an input or one or two things to say about it, but there are the actual bodies that have been put in place on a national level to be able to manage the standardization of things.
Yes, Priscilla, well said, but also sometimes, yes, the public could be acting out of ignorance, but we've also had challenges where members of Parliament go out of their normal obligations and make it seem like they have other roles they play. More so when they are seeking or canvassing for votes. They commit themselves, I'll build a road, I'll construct a bridge. Where there is no bridge, well, I'll put the bridge, then I'll put the river, then I'll construct a bridge. So sometimes this is where we've seen these challenges, that members of Parliament either don't know, or because they believe when they commit themselves to things beyond what they're supposed to do, then this will help them get more votes.
And that is why we have the Kcca Institute that was introduced. It will be helping new members of Parliament to understand their roles before new members like Felix will be coming. And Segrinya Muhammad. Stroke Richard. Anyway, we do still observe the Lent period, which will be ending in a few days. But as the whole season has been, Reverend Felix does give us the word to kickstart off the day as we continue into Lent.
Well, of course, speaking about the Bible, just before we get to that, I also have one small question to ask. Probably I'll ask this to Chirabo. Are you contented with your representation in Parliament? Maybe just a brief one, you and Priscilla could just, maybe in a minute.
I would have loved if you had phrased it like, do I feel represented by my member of Parliament? My simple answer would be no.
Priscilla?
My answer would be no equally. Yes. My member of Parliament is Katolwama. Yes.
Mine is Alan Sewanyana.
Yours has been busy with sports since
And then we shall go into the Bible, I guess. Since none of you feels represented, let's call on true representation from the Bible. And the same is, and the angel said unto them, fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. Thus says the Spirit of the Lord. That is from Luke 2:10 to 11.
And the sheep say,
Nay.
I like it in the Catholic Church where after Ebyo Mukama Yabyogera.
Reminds me of the first time I went to a Catholic church. You know, like it was in school, and we were kind of tired of what with the whole Protestant thing. So we go with our Catholic friends who for them attended church out of school. So I go into the service and I'm excited. I'm thinking the service is shorter. It's I enter the service, and just even the whole entrance thing is a whole ceremony. Then you enter, you think you're going to sit down and people will speak, then there will be songs, and you're like, no, in Catholics, it's gymnastics. You sing, you sit, you sing, you sit, you sing, you sit, you kneel. I found it so amusing that I honestly did not finish the mass. I just stepped out, went and sat under the mango tree. I waited for my friends, and we went back, and I was content. Yeah.
Now for you went to the Catholics, of course also having been brought up in the born again, where I must accept order is not that so much. So I go to the Protestants, and I thought you enter, like we enter, you know. They told me, no, you can't enter. There's a particular time when you can enter. Either some like party people have arrived at church and the doors are open, people are inside. Why don't I march like when I go to KPC, when I go to any other church? I mean, no, there's a specific time where you have to enter. Now I finally enter, and the way people humble themselves, contrary to hallelujah.
And they're jumping and they're running around the church.
So I waited for that. And by the end of service, I had begun a bit of, because there is exercising. Then when you go to worship, then also the pastor comes and, that energetic way. So these guys come in robes and it's all about humbling.
I remember when I was first going to be an altar boy, the training they took us through, you would think you're going for a military course. The sister would first come, then some guy used to call Paul. Paul comes, then the parish priest would, So by the time you go to the altar as an altar boy, there is no room for mistake. Even when you're in the, what you call, sacristia. No, before you get in, you're in the sacristia, because before you go to for mass, the priest will come, then you'll first pray together, a shortcut prayer there. Then they can maybe take you through what will be the day like. You're there. But as a young man, I think I was about 5 or 6 years. Then I'm like, you know, very tiny, putting on some big shoe, big short, what with socks. You know, I don't know why parents, I'm putting on a shirt, then you give me
they don't have time to buy
then they give you
2
that
years when you're still growing.
Now,
so they grow
you put on that chitete, altar boys put on, and but when you're there, the first commandment of the altar is put your hands like this. You only move them when you're responding to a command.
So the whole mass you're like this?
No, of course you have to carry some things, like you have to bring, you know, the ostia, the wine, what. That is the only time you remove them. And the rationale, later on I learned that the rationale was simply about, you see, as young kids you always want to find out, touch things, what. Now even sometimes it gets worse. I remember there was a Bishop Kakozo, Bishop Dung the late of Villa Maria. There's a time I was being an altar boy in a mass he was serving. Now there are people who there's I don't know, maybe for purposes of people who don't know, but there's that hat, I don't know, cap or hat he puts on. There's someone who's going to hold it. You must have, you know, then someone who holds the stick. Now all those ones go into different lessons. Now I had a friend, actually it's a cousin of mine. Was holding the stick. I don't know, he had which goes on him.
It fell.
It fell or he fell. The man suffered with the stick. I don't know.
And that's not supposed to land down.
So the bishop said that I think this man has some sickness.
Some demons.
I'm telling you, by the way, which was I think true, because the guy, every time he held himself on the stick like SARS,
he was so nervous.
So, but Anyway, so much that happened. But also another friend of mine apparently was called Robert. I don't know, apparently.
Okay, let me believe
Robert.
that.
You know hostia and wine? Let's start with the local stories.
Well, we shall continue with that, and then I'll be telling you apparently of my friend who was called Felix. And when we were going to have mass at school there, what happened. But let's first move into some of the stories that have made headlines in our bulletins for the last few hours. In case you missed, we give you a recap of that, beginning with what is happening in Tanzania, where we see thousands of Tanzanians continue queuing at Uhuru Stadium in Dar es Salaam city to pay their last respect to the foreign president of Tanzania, John Pombe Magufuli, who died on the 17th of March this year. Yesterday, collapsed with grief at a public ceremony in the country's largest city, Dar es Salaam, John Magufuli died suddenly last week after an illness officials say was heart failure. Mourners lined in the streets of Dar es Salaam to bid farewell to the late president, weeping and throwing flower petals as the casket that was transferring his body led by motorcade from church to Uhuru Stadium were seen through the streets. Many wore black, all green and yellow colors of the ruling party, but a few inside the stadium or among the packed crowds outside wore face masks in the COVID-19 affected country. It is too soon for you to go. The Father, you touched our lives and we'll still need you, said one of the mourners, Beatrice Edwards.
As Uganda does mourn alongside Tanzania for the loss of the fallen star, the Bamasaba have confirmed Jude Mike Mudoma as the new Umukuka, replacing Sir Bob Mushikori, who passed on 4th January this year. The resolution of confirming Mudoma was passed at Maluku District Council Hall during a heated debate that attracted Bugisu District Chairpersons, resident district commissioners, Mbale RCC, Izuyamasaba Elders Council, MPs from Bugisu and Izuyamasaba delegates.
Away from the Bamasaba, we now move to road accidents, where the rate at which road accidents continue to claim lives and destroy property in Uganda is worrying parliamentarians. This calls for a special attention in the budgeting process to cater for the losses caused by road accidents. The chairperson, Parliamentary Forum on Road Safety, Alex Luhunda, said Uganda loses close to 4 trillion shillings due to road accidents every year.
The Minister of ICT, Judith Nabakova, has congratulated Ugandans for surviving COVID-19 since it reared its ugly head in the country 1 year ago. In a press statement she issued in Kampala, the minister highlighted some of the key memories of the 1 year journey since Uganda registered her first COVID-19 victim. 1 year ago, on the 21st of March 2020, Uganda registered its first COVID-19 case.
Still related to COVID-19, Bugema University held its graduation under strict rules. It was a virtual graduation with few learners in attendance. The university management called upon the learners to embrace practical skills training as employers consider recruiting candidates who are well-rounded and can demonstrate competency in the soft skills. At least 1,117 graduates were awarded diplomas and degrees in the various disciplines.
And on to climate change. Human activists have been blamed for the decline of forest cover in Uganda. According to Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, the Speaker of Parliament, the steady growth of population poses a major challenge in environmental conservation. She made the remarks at the launch of the 2020 edition of the Root campaign geared at enhancing afforestation.
Well, those are some of the stories that we were able to get, and some that were in our bulletins. But interesting, Priscilla, one, population is going to increase. Believe it or not, and when you look at the fertility rate globally regarding women in Uganda, yes, their fertility rate is quite high. So
that's one. Two, the fact that our borders are open to refugees every now and I think Uganda possesses the highest number of refugees from different regions. Meanwhile, so that also can contribute to the population we have right now.
So when the speaker looks at an issue of population and human activists vis-a-vis deforestation. One thing that I always ask myself, the more it increases automatically that maybe we might end up even degazetting more forests, more reserves. And how are we preparing for this? Because at a time a politician will come out, my people, this, then a forest is degazetted. Look at what happens in some of our game reserves where human beings are fighting with our lions. 2 years ago, poison 2, now poaching is also an issue. So I think we should have a better plan towards population.
Well, it does leave a lot to be desired in us appreciating that we also have to conserve the very nature that we have, because also nature contributes to the kind of climate, the kind of weather, therefore the kind of agriculture we have. So at the end of the day, it's sort of a cycle. And you've talked about the lions that were poisoned 2 years ago. Well, over the weekend, we had a very terrible incident. 6 lions in Queen Elizabeth National Park died simply because of, I don't know, but they're still investigating, but they were found with missing parts. It could be said it might have been poison, it could be poaching on them. You know, of late, there's so much lucrative business around wild animal or game, for that matter, especially in the East African market. So, and people are to the ends. I was actually watching a story of a former poacher who was now reformed, and he was talking about how it was really survival because they needed to survive. His family needed to survive, and so he was introduced to this poaching, and he actually took it on for survival. But now he's reformed and he is preaching against poaching, which is something that we need to actually advocate for more and more, because at the end of the day, these 6 lions bring in revenue, good revenue for Uganda. People go to Queen Elizabeth National Park to actually be able to see the lions. I've had an experience of Makshan Falls, and we went lion hunting because we started our trekking at about 10 a.m. and the sun is up. So animals, when the sun is up, they kind of take shade. We looked for lions up to midday 30, and we found the lions seated under a tree when we were on our own things and they were on their own things, and then we saw them. It was really a good experience. So imagine if a foreigner came in for that very same experience, it would boost our economy.
And you know, flying all the way from any part of the world to come and have a look at the lions, and because we've poached them, sometimes because parts of their bodies are have a huge market, but sometimes even it's very funny for simple traditional beliefs. The person will kill a lion that brings in a country a lot of money just maybe because he believes a lion's teeth will fool someone to pay lots of money that they are going to get healed. But all in all, we just pray and believe.
But also this brings a dent, Felix, because then we're going to have to do the replacement of lions, because at the end of the day, I believe Uganda Wildlife Authority has to make purchase and replacement of these lions to keep the tourism going in that area.
Well, of course, speaking about tourism and all these things of poaching and lions, I think in as much as the communities have their responsibilities, government and also the institutions like the Wildlife Authority, even the NEMAs of this world, the Uganda Forestry Authority, all these ones, because we have been consistently talking about gazetting of these places, all right? Because encroachment of these places is because they're not gazetted. Now, the reason why the local people even poison these lions, because they come and eat their children, they eat them. So we need to find a place where we avoid all this so that everyone has their space. The wildlife has their space, and of course human beings also have. In as much as lions are important, so are even the people. So we must just be able to demarcate and find where lions must be and also people should be.
All right, join us for a new week on Good Morning Uganda. Our social media platforms are ready to receive you. On Twitter at UBCTV Uganda. The hashtag is UBCJMU. And then on Facebook, UBCTV, stream live with us. I'm pretty sure you have so many errands to run before you get into the office, but you can still move alongside with us on our Facebook. And on YouTube, we're also streaming, which is UBC Television Uganda.
Well, of course, now speaking about streaming, I will stream live into Australia, where we did have floods and where we see thousands evacuated as downpours worsen. Now, about at least 18,000 Australians have been evacuated from flooding across New South Wales as heavy rains continue to beat the east coast. Now, days of torrential downpours have caused rivers and dams to overflow and around Sydney and the state capital in southeast Queensland. Now, officials say one in a 50-year event may continue all week and have urged the public to exercise caution. Prime Minister Scott Morrison has offered funds for those forced to flee, and it's another testing time for our country, she told Sydney radio station. Now, Donald Trump has a comeback, and he does plan to come back on social media. That says he is advising. Our former U.S. President Donald Trump will soon return to social media with his own platform. His advisor said, I do think that we are going to see President Donald Trump returning to social media in probably about 2 or 3 months. Jason Miller told Fox News there, and he said the platform will be the hottest ticket in social media and would completely redefine the game. Now, Trump was suspended from Twitter, Facebook after January's deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. The attack on the 6th January by Trump supporters saw 5, including a police officer, killed and shook the foundation of American democracy. Now, of course, when we do cross back to Africa, we'll be looking at South Africa sells unwanted Oxford vaccines. Now, South Africa has told some of the million doses of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine that is decided not to roll out to other African states. That is Health Minister Zweli Mukezi, who said that last month South Africa dropped plans to use the vaccine to curb the spread of COVID-19 after a small study suggested that it had a minimal effect against the country's new variant in young people. Now, instead, it rolled out the single dose of Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which health workers currently are being inoculated with. The Oxford AstraZeneca had been sold via the African Union to 14 African states. Mr. Muzela came out to say without mentioning the countries. Well, something quite interesting about these vaccines. I have had many countries come out to challenge or cause questioning about the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. I haven't heard much about the Johnson & Johnson. South Africa now has sold all its AstraZeneca to African countries. I don't know if Ugandans, as you go for vaccination, you have an option to ask what you're being vaccinated with, either Johnson & Johnson or AstraZeneca. I don't know, but I hope that opportunity is also given. Priscilla and Robert, meanwhile, do you intend to go for vaccination? Priscilla?
I intend to stay safe. I intend to vaccinate myself with garlic and ginger because right now, even with the donations that we have received in the country for that particular vaccine, it still has a long list of people that have to be attended to. So by the time I become eligible, it's going to be a while. In that meantime, I can still contract COVID-19.
In the event that they said, Good Morning Uganda crew, you've been given a pass to come for vaccination.
You have to lead by example. Yes,
Chidabo,
you lead by example. You let people know.
First, the good thing with this vaccination is no one is coerced into that. That's why there's a consent form. If you feel it is safe for you and you want to prevent yourself, you sign the consent form, then you are vaccinated. If you feel it's not safe, no one is coercing.
Would you go for the vaccination, Robert?
I would go for the vaccination, first and foremost, because I believe prevention...
I've just asked you a question. Would you go?
I think Chirabo did history. And for some reason, he uses those words.
This is not section B, this is section A. It is yes or no.
For us, for every yes, I give an explanation.
No, we have not asked you for the explanation.
We shall come to that.
Okay.
And I like the way he says, First and foremost.
As if there's a whole list.
I think
that is not enough.
You can imagine what's coming. And then he says, therefore, I'm like, we are just
not enough.
Speaking about vaccination
but
and
Felix,
all these things.
wait. We need you. Who would you go for the vaccination?
Me? Well, I'm fine. Why would I go for one? Okay.
It's a yes or no.
It's a yes
so
or no.
Confuse us.
Don't add anything.
I am fine.
Would
Felix.
you go?
No, you find where to place your yes or no.
We are going to stay here, Felix, by the way.
Yes.
Would you go yes or no?
So we have hallelujah
We are
ginger
staying
tea.
here. No, we are not.
Would you go for the vaccination
Would you
or
go?
not?
Yes or no?
Just assume you're before Justice Esther. Guy of the Supreme
Felix,
Court. Would you go for the
hereby
vaccination?
you take the
or not?
vaccination.
The vaccination? If it's Johnson and Johnson.
Let's take hallelujah.
Hallelujah, ginger tea
drink.
Ready for you to drink this morning. It adds a smile to us every single morning, and it can make you smile also throughout the day. So you can enjoy this product. It is made by Uganda. So buy Uganda, support Uganda, and let's keep the money in here and keep the economy vibrant. But you can store it in a cool and dry place. It doesn't have to be in a refrigerator, because the way it has been designed and preserved, it is conducive for any environment, and it has fresh ginger, it has sucrose, and it has rosemary. The combination of rosemary and ginger is the sweetest of them all.
And well, if you're not a sweet tongue, there is hallelujah turmeric drink that is onvisi gwenkoke that will help your body fight a number of diseases, because among the health benefits there, we have it helps to regulate blood pressure, cholesterol levels, body detoxifier, weight management, fights that is hangover. Well, sometimes people, you've taken the opaque bottle and hangover becomes a problem to you. So you can just take hallelujah turmeric drink. It also quenches thirst and anti-cancer, boosts your immune system, and also anti-inflammatory, but also manages diabetes, among others. Remember, these are natural ingredients that are put in this drink, and above all, it has also been certified by the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. So meaning it is safe for you. Buy Uganda, build Uganda.
Now, of course, as Uganda celebrates 100 years of Parliament, we will try to engage you, our viewers, on our social media platforms with a poll question where we'll be expecting you to give us a couple of feedback. And that poll question will be read to you when we come back in our segment. But of course, as we take a break to have a song for the day, we'll be listening to a gentleman called Jamal Waswa, also a very good footballer, by the way. He sang a song called Abachala Bazira. That is something we need to examine when we come back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
Tulantende ku program obulamu.
Was brought to you by
No one should stop you from finishing what's yours. That's why MTN gives you data bundles that don't expire. Load MTN Freedom Bundles using My MTN app and enjoy the freedom to finish your data bundles.
MTN.
Daddy, surprise! Here is a pizza for you. Happy birthday to you.
Daddy, you look not impressed. My daughter, this is not meaningful to me. Hallelujah Natural Drinks is my ideal gift today.
Hallelujah Ginger Tea Drink and Hallelujah Tamarind Drinks are the most perfect nutritious and healthy products that help everyone to boost their immune system to get complete relief of most sicknesses like joint pains, cough, diabetes, blood pressure, easy digestion, and many more. And certified by UNBS. For orders, find us at Bilateral House on Sir Apolokagwa Road, opposite MBI. Hallelujah Natural Drinks, perfect for your health.
Kwate simu.
For the first time in Uganda, you can pay in installments and own a smartphone instantly. Get to own the Samsung A3 Core, Samsung A01 or Samsung A11 and pay back in either daily, weekly or monthly installments for a period of a year. To check if you're eligible for the offer, dial *284*49# today. You also enjoy free 500 MB on the purchased phone every month for the entire loan repayment period. Ha! Uganda nyuma! Airtel, the smartphone network, in proud partnership with MasterCard, Samsung, and Asante Financial Services.
Well, over time, women indeed have proved that abachala bazira. So that song goes out to all the women there, more so in particular the single mothers there, the women that hustle alone to raise their children in these difficult times of the COVID-19 pandemic. Bamama muri bazira. I'll first take it to Felix before I go to Priscilla, because I know she might blow her trumpet seriously. Felix, abachala bazira.
And in respect of that, I will give my time to Priscilla. Chada.
So, Chida, is that okay with you? May I please blow my trumpet?
Go ahead, hit.
Yes.
Hands down.
First of all, I would like to say good morning to the mothers who gave birth to Robert Shirabo and Felix Nkunda. Thank you so much. You added value to this particular community in such a time as this. But looking at Jamal and the song that took Uganda by a storm, I think it was the first one song that Ugandans could relate to in celebrating women, especially in a month such as March. First of all, the performance was classy. I love the stage. It was well done. I was like, whoa, this is really nice. And he performed very well to it. He was interesting and engaging, and it was definitely an international level kind of performance.
It must not have been in Uganda. I think it's in the Afro-Caribbean or something.
Obviously.
Like that.
Concerts of Uganda. Let me tell you, concerts of Uganda. The concert that they did in 1992 in the USA has not yet been arrived at in Uganda in 2020. Okay, let's say that concerts last ended in 2019. Since then, we still cannot match up to the kind of concerts that should be held elsewhere, if we're to go by standardization, as one Felix Nkunda called it. But indeed, abachala bazira. Bagumira binji. They will stomach so many things. They will watch and keep quiet.
This is the point where I want to take back my time, Chirap.
Please do. Permission granted.
Okay, your time has been given back to you, sir.
And of late, when they
can't chugumire.
Your hit, lie like an envelope. Yes, Felix, take on.
But I think it's important always to remind women, and mostly even the girls, of how special they are. It's a good thing to always speak positivity to women. Most of them are devoid of encouragement, and that's why they fall prey to very many things, because no one has continuously told them the truth about who they are. So when it comes in message of a song, I think it's powerful.
Indeed, and as we talk about abachala bazira, you know, all the time there's something that as I go through social media, these funny jokes, just to lighten up, spice up the day. Yesterday, I was trying to read through some posts of some people, and I saw, as we talk about abachala bazira, so this lady was trying to thank the mother that gave birth to the husband, and she said, "Eriyo musajja akwagala, noyagala okunoonya mama we, omukoere baby shower."
That's a good one.
That's like, but Ugandans, you could put the creativity and all that.
No, better when you think about it, because you'd have to thank the mother who raised him in such a manner that is so, even me, I felt it.
Selfish.
Yeah, it's okay.
Well, let's move 100 years of Parliament.
You can have some hallelujah.
But before that, let's first take a look at our poll question this morning. For you, as we celebrate 100 years of Parliament, what's most memorable for you as we celebrate 100 years of Parliament? That is our poll question, and please, we're waiting for your views, for your opinions on our various social media platforms, and we'll be reading them for you tomorrow. Our
social media platforms upon which you can make your contribution and air your opinion is on Twitter at UBC TV Uganda, and also on Facebook, which is UBC TV. You can add Uganda in case you can't find it. You'll be able to find the hashtag UBCGMU.
Now tomorrow we'll be hubbing at Parliament. Again, hubbing at Parliament, and we'll be trying to take you through the feel of these celebrations. We'll be engaging with a couple of people in Parliament again who have been there for quite a time. I know a couple of people like Mzee Uganda, and of course the clerk to Parliament. We will be having these interactions to also bring this closer to our viewers, for them to understand what it means for Parliament to celebrate 100 years. What is Parliament? Why is it important? You know, all these things that happen there, probably you should give you a sneak peek into the business of Parliament.
Well, many a times when we talk about 100 years of Parliament, many people would wonder, but when you talk about Parliament, when did it clock 100 years? Because we had our independence in 1962, and when you look at some research, they will begin looking at Parliament from 1962. That's where they will calculate the first Parliament, second, third, and now we're ushering into the 11th Parliament. But there is history before independence that we had what was referred to as the Uganda Legislative Council, which first sitting happened in 1921 on the 23rd day of March. That is the first Parliament of Uganda. However, that Parliament had no Ugandan representation. So that's why it is as we first got our independence that people count, because that was more organized and more like of a parliament. The Legico was more of the administration was done in the United Kingdom, and these were just a few representatives here, where later on, with advocacy, of course, advocacy began even before independence, where now we saw the Ugandans beginning to take toll of it. We want to look at Parliament or the Legico before independence, so that will give you a background for you to better understand why they're actually 100 years today and not us going from the first time when we had our independence till today. Priscilla.
Yes.
Very interesting that the British knew that they had to have some administration here. So they formed up a council to them that they were viewing as a parliament, which was the Uganda Legislative Council, the Legico, and of course it really worked for some time, but we didn't have a grip of this because even we didn't have representation until about 1958 when we had Ugandans into this. Let's begin by digesting the Legico, which is the Uganda Legislative Assembly or Council.
Of course, one would ask themselves, where does Legico come from? It's the Legislative Council. Back then it was under the British because we were a British protectorate. British had come and colonized the region or the territory of Uganda. And so by then they had to establish their governance onto Uganda as their protectorate, meaning that now they had to switch everything and the way things were being administered as far as democracy was concerned into a format that was in line with our colonialists, who were the British at the time, under the Queen and Her Majesty and the what would be the Parliament of Britain at the time. So the purpose of the first National Legislative Council was to really just help administer what had already been decided at the protectorate, our colonialists level. What was decided by the Queen and their Parliament and the Prime Minister is then passed on. But who would then administer that? That would be the Legislative Council. The Legislative Council at the time had representations. It had 3 European representations, and then later on they added an Indian representation because, as you know, at the time they were constructing the railway through the British protectorates, Kenya and then into Uganda. And so the Indian coolies were the ones that were doing the construction.
Actually, by that time they did a census of its nature, and they found that the British were only 1,000, while the Indians were 5,000.
No, those were Asians.
The Asians were 5,000. So according to them, they felt that these people should be represented. But can you imagine, forgetting that the indigenous people are there also? And
yeah, so later as the years went by, there was that argument that let us have representation by mass. If we have more Asians than Europeans, then let us have in the legislature more Asians than Europeans. But that was not the intent. The intent was, because it was not community-based initially, it was just so it administers what has already been decided. And so they later on, after adding 1 Asian representative, they also added an Indian representative, and then that is, later on they also added an East African community representative. And so that is how the legislature actually got to grow. Now these members, these are 6 at the time, only had secretaries to take on pass on the rest of the work that they had to do. But majorly, they did not have much work that they were doing because the Queen's Majesty government was doing all the work. The point is for them to actually
the important decisions were being taken by the Queen's government in Whitehall.
It was more or less like a club that was having no real importance for a long time. Yeah.
Felix, looking at Parliament before independence, where we see that, yes, we had something that was known as the Uganda Legislative Council, but actually we didn't have Ugandans until 1958, when we saw a few come in.
45.
Okay. 45, but some put at 19.
It was about 1945 where we saw the representation of different region heads, where we saw the then Kcca of Uganda, I think Kagwa something, then also the Prime Minister of Bunyoro, Nyabangira something, then of course the Secretary Evarist. That's the first time in 1945 where we saw these three people being brought to cause representation in the what was called Legico. But also remember, Legico was formed out of an ordinance. If you remember the Order in Council of 1902, I think Article 12 of the Order in Council was that this must have been established. Now, the purpose of forming the Legico was basically to woodwink. Remember, at that point, there was the something they called the human face.
Please, you're saying, remember at that point, Chiraba was not there at that point, so he cannot remember.
I'm assuming, I mean, we all read these things, so like I'm saying, all these things are, they are written. So, what I'm saying, yes, remember what you read.
Or what you heard of.
What you have, exactly, but it's not far from that generation. Yeah, so, around the same time, remember that there was a challenge of people who are returning from war. Now, at that point,
the world wars.
Yes, the world wars, if I may call them. There are people returning now. Because of their exposure they had gotten, there was a bit of pressure, as you would have noticed, that many countries had uprisings. And there's a wave. Already it had started taking place in Asia. It has started taking place in the Caribbean, in North America. So in Africa, people, because of this war, had started to come back around the 1920. That's why you had the Second Order in Council around 1922. Now, that's when they said, guess what, guys, we have to give these guys some bit of fair piece of the cake. Now, that's when they bring in, again, they brought in the first representatives on the Legico who were from the greatest kingdoms again, or the strongholds then. That was Bunyoro, the Busoga, and Buganda. They got both the Katikiros from the two, then of course the secretary from Busoga. Now that meant there was going to be a change. Now the representation came on growing at some point to, I think, 58, up to the point when we got independence. Now the most major memorable events are in the post-independent times. Because the belief is that at this point the mantle, it's a belief that the mantle was given back to Ugandans. Now it meant that Uganda had to come up with a conglomeration of the tripartite aspect of governance. It had to form the executive, the judiciary, and later on the legislature. Now that's where the gist of what actually Parliament, because that's when we started seeing the effects of Parliament. At the time of independence, the president then had a clash with the prime minister. If you remember, the king. That alone wouldn't give room for Parliament to thrive. In fact, when you read, they write and say that the decrease, because remember, there were decrees versus applicability of Parliament. The decrees then that were cast by the House of President and Prime Minister would not give room for Parliament to deliberate. If even you remember again, Obote went to Parliament. Every time he came to Parliament, he would just leave memos for those members there. That's how they came with those what they call the pigeonholes. What they will do, not what they will do, but what they will
do.
Unlike what you see here on the floor when Chirabo comes and say, no, we cannot give this money, then you sit down. Then Speaker will say, you call the minister to explain. They would find instructions in their pigeonholes.
And execute the instructions.
And that was the order of business at Parliament. And so, as you discussed 100 years, we are looking at this evolution. How does Parliament change faces? Remember, it started from, in fact, Robert talked about Legico, but it goes as far as Ibea. Is it Ibea or something like that? In 18, yes, in 18 something. Now, that's where it started, whereby an order, it's a gentleman called Colbrin or something, orders would come from the Queen to the East African, then brought down to Protectorate.
Yes.
Now, of course, numbers grew and pressures, because the time for colonization had ceased to have place anywhere in the world. You know, and then there was that scramble and partition again, that in as much as Britain was being a colonial master, other countries also wanted. That's how you ended up having the likes of Rwanda's, the Burundis not having Britain, having Belgium and France, because they also fighting.
So they were also
German
trying to copy what a colonial power is doing the other side. So the African man was exposed to a lot of knowledge and exposure, and therefore agitation. This is one thing when you read history that you must understand, that there was nothing the African man got on a silver platter. All of these, even coming up to celebrating 100 years of Parliament, you said there was nothing that the colonial masters were willing to offer to engage the Africans themselves in their affairs. But the Africans agitated. The Africans took on course to demand for most of these developments that we see today, right from independence, how they were able to ensure that they set foot on leadership, on running the affairs of Africa. And this is why we celebrate 100 years today. It's not something that was just arrived at, but of course there were forces of demand by the Africans themselves to ensure that they better govern themselves. Priscilla, today, now we come to current day. When you talk about the 10th Parliament, soon we are going to see in, that is the 11th Parliament, right from 1962 when we got independence. Let's also take a look through that journey, and of course we shall add more on this tomorrow.
So the question would be, how do we arrive to the 10th Parliament that is currently running today? They have a few days in office, and then they will be going back to their communities to find other ways to serve the communities. But right from 1962, back in that time, I think Parliament would only have, you'd be representing the region or whatever communities for 1 year. And so from 1962 to 1963, we had the first Parliament, and the second Parliament came in from 1963 to 1971. Then the third Parliament came in from 79 to 1980. Now, of course, you see there's a gap between 71 and 79. And tomorrow, we'll be giving you more understanding of why you do have a gap between the second Parliament and the third Parliament. The fourth Parliament then came in 1980 to 1985. Now you get to see now the 5 years of leadership starting to apply, and tomorrow again we will understand how that was arrived at. The fifth Parliament came in from 1986 to 1996, and the sixth Parliament took over from 1996 to 2001. The seventh Parliament did come in at 2001 to 2006. Then the eighth Parliament took over from 2006 to 2011. Ninth Parliament then came through from 2011 to 2016, and then the 10th Parliament from 2016 to a few days from now. In May, they will be swearing out, and the 11th Parliament will be coming in from 2021 to 2026.
Well, that is a hint of what we are going to be discussing more tomorrow, as Parliament of Uganda will be celebrating 100 years of existence. I think when we began the show and you saw that tag 100 years, many were wondering, but of course now you're well assured that yes, we had this sitting since 21 on the 23rd day when the Legico first held its sitting. We'll be giving you more of this as we gear up for tomorrow. But Priscilla, do you ever have a dream of becoming a member of Parliament? Is it in your thoughts anywhere that maybe one day you'll go and contest? I've seen many people in the media fraternity, after getting these platforms, some even know of being controversial and all that, and it's worked for them.
I can't answer that question right now. Yes.
Felix, would you?
No.
Do you ever envisage any?
No.
Okay, let's once again take a look at our poll question this morning. What's your most memorable for you as we celebrate 100 years of Parliament. What's most memorable for you as we celebrate 100 years of Parliament? Please send in your views and we will be able to read them out. But let's return with what is trending in the print media. Good morning and keep it on UBC TV.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Hallelujah Jingati drink and Hallelujah Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Hallelujah Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Hallelujah from all shops around.
Parliament of Uganda will mark 100 years of legislation on Tuesday, 23rd March 2021. On this day, Parliament shall debate a motion for a resolution of Parliament to recognize its achievements over the years. The precursor of the present-day Parliament of Uganda was the Legislative Council, LegCo, established by the British Colonial Office. The LegCo held its first meeting on Wednesday, 23rd March 1921 at the Government House in Entebbe and thereafter at the Town Hall, now Kcca headquarters, before moving to the current home at the Parliament Building in 1962 upon Uganda attaining independence. The public is invited to follow the day's proceedings that will be broadcast live. This message is brought to you by the Clerk to Parliament.
That's their way of stopping HIV. What about you?
Kcca! For the first time in Uganda, you can pay in installments and own a smartphone instantly. Get to own the Samsung A3 core, Samsung A01 or Samsung A11 and pay back in either daily, weekly or monthly installments for a period of a year. To check if you're eligible for the offer, dial *284*49# today. You also enjoy free 500 MB on the purchased phone every month for the entire loan repayment period. Ha! Uganda nyuma! Airtel, the smartphone network, in proud partnership with MasterCard, Samsung and Asante Financial Services.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, gifted by nature, has two rainy seasons. We have the March rains and, of course, later on. But this morning, well, we're good to go. Do not arrive at your destination. Let giving rainfall as an excuse. Over the weekend, it was a storm and heavy rains. But this morning, woken up to a better start of your day. It is Good Morning Uganda. and time when you're looking at some of the stories that have made headlines that is in the dailies. Once again, I'm Robert Chirabo Nyontono with my colleague Felix Nkunda, with whom we are going to be taking you through press review. Beginning with the New Vision, big headline there. Oh, is hope lost for many Ugandans? Who knows? That is Kcca right to president over NSSF bill. Many hopeful they'll be getting at least some percentage of their savings. He gives reasons why the bill should not be signed. Then government releases, that is 49 billion for pensions. So some people there. And Uganda's year of COVID-19 pandemic, the New Vision brings you some of that. And Tanzanians pay tribute to Magufuli. Patriotism, president meets Kenya's army officers. Still in the New Vision on crime, 2 murdered women identified. Also, there are 270 jobs for you there in the New Vision in areas of Nakasongola, Otuke Buyende, District Service Commission, Education, Development Center there for you. In the education sector, the senior 3 work inside, that is biology, physics, and the English language. Yes, Nkunda.
Well, of course, also in Daily Monitor, we'll be looking at the headline here says, COVID, a year of shock, panic, and agony. Quite painful here. They tried to our loved ones. Yesterday marked 1 year since Uganda registered its first COVID-19 case, turning our lives upside down and robbing the nation of at least 334 lives. Now, a series on these painful years starts today, where we'll be looking at some of the people who we have lost, taking account. It's quite painful. You see here Dr. Kisamba Mugirwa, Dr. Michael Musitwa, Faith Alupo, Robina Sentongo there, Haji Chivei Jinda, that is Alphonse Wasodiki, that is Pauli Masiko, Kano Shaban Bantariza, Rehema Waitongola, Bob Mushirochi, Dorothy Mukasa, and so many more, John Baptist Kagwa. Well, of course, it's quite sad there. But Kawesi murders, number justice, no justice in 4 years, okay? And Ugandans get 20 years in jail in India over drugs. Oh. More families speak on missing people and why you should eat more cabbage there. And of course also, that is UA extends park entry fees discount until June. But of course, if we come inside the papers now, Esther Chisache, the Supreme Court judge, alleged that Chief Justice Owunyidolo confiscated her file that contained her ruling on the withdrawn Bobi Wine poll case. Joseph Otieno, the former candidate for the Uganda People's Congress presidency, has sued leader of the 2-party functions, claiming they are in office illegally. Now, of course, today in history, Idi Amin creates new district and provinces, that is in March 22nd, 1974. And Uganda's first resistance council created. Wow, okay. In March 1981, the first resistance council, RC, now known as LOC, was established here in Chikandwa village in Luweero district.
Looking into the New Vision, the rains that happened over the weekend, there is a picture of a lady that is in Bokassa near Boyogere, looking at some of the iron sheets that were blown off houses in the area after a heavy downpour on Friday. And Know Your Member of Parliament segment there in the New Vision, they bring you Jackson Kafuzi, who is Chaka South Member of Parliament, also Peter Okweya, who is Bukolo Island County, and Dr. Emmanuel Otala, West Budama County South. Today in history, it was on this very date, still month, but in the year 1995, when the Constitutional Assembly voted to reject a proposed amendment of Article 201 of the draft of the Constitution that would have created a federal system of government based on region. Then still on the same date, but in 1997, that is, Indira Gandhi resigned as a Prime Minister of India. She was the first and to date the only female Prime Minister India has ever had. looking at COVID-19 statistics, so good so far, coming to a month plus since we last recorded any death of COVID-19. The death toll stands at 334 in Uganda. Looking at our neighbors, Rwanda, so far they have registered 287, Kenya 1,994, South Sudan 106 people have succumbed to COVID. And countries worst hit, still USA leads, Brazil follows, India, Russia and the United Kingdom.
Well, of course, now we do cross over into sports where we're looking at Mobiru not replacing Aucho there. Of course, there's been a couple of challenges. He had blamed for not coming early when he reached the airport. It's a bit tricky, but we'll see how that will be handled. Now, James out with injury. Lakers crash on losing star there. And all eyes on Mobiru now as he's manning the team. We hope that he gives us some good results. Now, of course, also comes out to say Cranes put Aucho saga behind, focus on Burkina Faso there, and hockey has lessons for all sports leaders. Nanabueteme hopes Iceland move helps her increase her career, and Ginger Hippos too heavy for Rhinos at Dam Water. Now, women hockey team have mountain to climb.
In the New Vision Sports, we have Is Lumara the answer? That is a question answer to what? And they give you also African Nation Cup qualifiers there. Previous results were Uganda 2, Malawi 0, Burkina Faso 0, Uganda 0, Uganda 1, South Sudan 0, and South Sudan 1, Uganda 0. Lumala makes first start on home turf there, so the New Vision brings you more of that. Then Namibia is a perfect test. And also women in sports, she cranes in Cape Town. But remember, more of these. Ruben brings you all the details in the sports updates for you. Felix, as Priscilla takes us through traffic, I want to ask you something. Also, I'll push the same question to Priscilla. Yesterday, I experienced an experience. I was coming from church, and a traffic officer around Chibuye stops. So I stop and says, "Gentlemen, how are you?" Looks through the car, all have masks. Okay, then he says politely, says, "Oh, well, everything is okay." Then he asks me, "Well, gentlemen, you're heading home. Any lunch for me?" So, well, I gladly brought out anything that I wanted to give because he was asking. But after someone asked me, the person in the car asked, "Is that a bribe or not?" If a police officer stops you and doesn't take you on any offense, but politely asks for something, does that amount to a bribe?
Well, I don't know what to say about that. Just about be honest. If any kind of enticement, financial or value of the same as in line of work, definitely would qualify to be a bribe.
Priscilla, let me get your opinion.
I have nothing to say about that matter. I can only have a matter to say about traffic updates. Looking at the traffic updates this morning, we get to look at Kampala Road, which seems to be a red hot zone all the way on the major streets. And as you can see, red zone, orange zone, red zone, orange zone. Looking at downtown Kampala, it also has a lot of red zones. And equally, every route that is bringing in traffic from the suburbs of Kampala is having red zones. Why? It's a Monday and everyone is in rush hour to kickstart off not only a day but a brand new week. So how do you get to kickstart off a brand new week? Well, let's look at some of the routes that I have discovered make up a ring road within the heart of the city. We have 3 roads that actually go adjacent to each other, follow each other from one end to another end, and they can actually help you to get to any side of Kampala depending on where you start your journey from. So I'm going to start my journey from Sheraton, assuming that I slept at Sheraton Kampala Hotel. I come to the Sheraton Roundabout, and at the Sheraton Roundabout, I'm given 3 options of ring roads that I can use to be able to avoid the traffic that is on the main roads. Now, you know, Uganda Road does bring in traffic that comes from Kampala Road. Most people will use Uganda Road to escape. Now, Uganda Road is one of the ring roads that you can actually consider in your movements. The second ring road, if you're coming from or interacting with the Sheraton Roundabout, you're coming from Speak Road, you're coming from Nile Avenue, you're coming from downtown Kampala, and you want to stay far away from this crazy jam, then you can also consider using Nakasero Road. But there's also an alternative route that instead brings in traffic, and that is from the other side. That is Lumumba Avenue. Lumumba Avenue is a one-way to the Sheraton Roundabout, and then Nakasero Road as well as Buganda Road take away the traffic from the Sheraton Roundabout. Now, following Buganda Road and Nakasero adjacent or in between Lumumba, you get to see that on Buganda Road, which is right here, both these three roads do intersect or cross-sect with Chagwe Road. Chagwe Road goes all the way to Elsent and goes down into downtown Kampala all the way to the Indian Junction. So you get to see Buganda Road this morning is a clear route for you. Now, adjacent to Uganda Road is what is known as the Kcca Roundabout, where you have Watoto Church and the start of Kampala Road at this roundabout. And of course, it does depict a lot of jam that is building up in this area right now. And you also do have a long red zone coming in from Mukwano Mall, intersecting with Kcca Market and coming up onto Kampala Road. That is a lot of jam. Also, most recently, this very area on Benchuanka Street was made a one-way. So it clearly brings out traffic from downtown Kampala, the taxi parks, old and new taxi park, and also any vehicle that is actually taking business and goods out of Kampala uses Benchuanka Street majorly to go away from there and join Bombo Road to be able to take business to that part of the country. And so that will also contribute to how the jam looks like. So to stay away from that jam, why not stick to either Buganda Road or you can use Nakasero Road, and these two roads will guide you away from this traffic and be able to get you to the next destination at whatever junction you get off from. Now, for Uganda Road, you can actually come off, get onto Kcca Medical Center, around Kcca Medical Center, and then possibly you can then continue onto the other parts of Lower Nakasero into what would be Mulago. On the upper side for Nakasero Road, it does have that cross that brings you and cuts across Nakasero Road, Lumumba Avenue, and then also Buganda Road. And that is a very interesting one that you can use to actually avoid this traffic here. You can simply come off Buganda Road and then come back up Nakasero Road, and you're able to then connect into Kampala, or the heart of the city, the central business area. And that is for people that are coming in, most especially using Lumumba Road. Now, Lumumba Road does then connect you to, you have more connections that do come through here, where you do have Platinum Hospital. Those will be connecting to what would be the Wandegea Road, which is Kcca Road, connecting you to Kcca Road. But if you cannot have the patience to get onto either Wandegea, into the heart of Wandegea, or of course this is a one-way on this side. If you're going to connect down, you're definitely wanting to get into Wandegea. But also there's people that will use the roundabout at Mulago and then want to come up what is known as public service route, and they will want to join this side of the city. Now, you can use Lumumba Avenue or you can use Nakasero Road to be able to connect you into the heart of the city, avoiding this jam that we see building on Bombo Road. But let's see how the ring road, now you know why I'm calling it the ring road, because this is how Buganda Road is curving and joining Londell Road, which will then connect you to Yusuf Lure Road. Equally also, Lumumba Avenue, interestingly, does bring in traffic all the way from Yusuf Lule around the Uganda Golf Course at the traffic lights. It brings in the traffic alongside Golden Tulip, then it will go and cross-sect with Muwafu Road, and then it will come back, give you the ring there, and then it will go straight up to the Sheraton Roundabout. So according to where you are going, you can actually use this route and avoid the traffic that you could see building up on Yusuf Lule into Wandegea, or better still, Wandegea onto Bombo Road and onto Kampala Road. So this will bring you into the heart of the city. That is Lumumba Avenue. And then we also get to look at Nakasero Road. Nakasero Road is called Nakasero Road because it goes around Nakasero Hospital and connects to Akibua Road, which also later on is going to connect you. Of course, it all goes around the Nakasero Hill, and that is why it's called Nakasero Road. It does intersect with the Indian High Commission, Arirang Hotel, and it's going to bring you back to Akibua, and then from Akibua you can connect back to Yusuf Lule in that direction by connecting to the Lumumba Avenue, and then you will drop right at the Gulf Coast traffic lights. And so those ring roads can actually guide you this morning as you maneuver your way into the city using Lumumba Avenue, or away escaping the traffic from the main routes and you want to get onto this other side. This is Wandegea, Kalere, you want to get onto Kira Road, you want to get into Kcca Avenue, you want to get into Kamocha and Tinda and the likes. Lumumba Avenue takes you from those places into the heart of the city, but Buganda Road and Nakasero Road will guide you and send you to those very same locations that I have mentioned. Now we get to also see how it is looking like at Uganda Golf Course. There's a little bit of jam, but of course because there's traffic officers and also the traffic lights, they're going to be able to guide you right there. The rest of Yusuf Lule brings you to Oasis Mall. Oasis Mall roundabout this morning. In case you're bored by the roundabout, you can stop over, have a cup of tea or something to eat, and then you continue on with your journey. Now when you continue on to your journey, you will use the roundabout to connect to Nile Avenue. Nile Avenue, of course, will bring you back home to UBC, where we are broadcasting live this morning. But also UBC is quite opposite what is known as the Parliament of Uganda. Now we've been showing you some pictures of how interestingly beautiful it looked back in the years of 1962 into the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And guess what? As we speak, a lot of development is taking place at the Parliament of Uganda. Construction is taking place. One may be wondering, what are they constructing? Well, tomorrow we shall be at the hub of the Parliament of Uganda, getting to find out, eating on the history of this legislative body of the Ugandan Three Arms, and we'll get to understand where it came from, the people that influenced the many changes that we shall be seeing tomorrow as we celebrate 100 years of the Parliament of Uganda. Having started as LEGCO, which is the Legislative Council, in 2021, on the 23rd of March is when they had their first meeting. In 1962, it then moved to be called the National Assembly of Uganda, and today they call it the Parliament of Uganda. The transitions, well, stick around. Tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. we shall be having all these conversations through the tides of times. Yes, 100 years. We celebrate the Parliament of Uganda here on Good Morning Uganda, and congratulations in advance as the party kicks off. It is Good Morning Uganda Monday's edition, and we do have Good Morning Uganda agenda. Conversations are going to start off. Robert Chirabo will be taking us through that, and later on sports was very interesting over the weekend. Ruben Pima Chibirango here to give you with confidence all the stats and the conversations that transpired in the course of the weekend.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
Tulantende ku program obulamu bwo.
Was brought to you by
No one should stop you from finishing what's yours. That's why MTN gives you data bundles that don't expire. Load MTN Freedom bundles using my MTN app and enjoy the freedom to finish your data bundles.
MTN.
Parliament of Uganda will mark 100 years of legislation on Tuesday, 23rd March 2021. On this day, Parliament shall debate a motion for a resolution of Parliament to recognize its achievements over the years. The precursor of the present-day Parliament of Uganda was the Legislative Council, LEGCO, established by the British Colonial Office. The LegCo held its first meeting on Wednesday, 23rd March 1921 at the Government House in Entebbe and thereafter at the Town Hall, now Kcca headquarters, before moving to the current home at the Parliament Building in 1962 upon Uganda attaining independence. The public is invited to follow the day's proceedings that will be broadcast live. This message is brought to you by the Clerk to Parliament.
Wait.
No one should stop you from finishing what's yours. That's why MTN gives you data bundles that don't expire. Load MTN Freedom bundles using my MTN app and enjoy the freedom to finish your data bundles.
MTN.
That's their way of stopping HIV. What about you?
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Hallelujah Ginger Tea drink and Hallelujah Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Hallelujah Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Hallelujah from all shops around.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Stay connected to the largest 4G network in Uganda, anytime, anywhere, using the Airtel 4G Pocket Mifi, available at only 123,000 Uganda shillings. This comes with 15 GB free, valid for a month. You can connect up to 10 users at a go and still enjoy a shared yet unmatched internet experience. Dial *175*9# to activate free 15 GB. Visit the nearest Airtel shop to get one today. Airtel, the smartphone network. Airtel is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
In case you've just joined the show, allow me say good morning to you and thank you so much for you choosing UBC TV as a TV of your choice. While we promise to inspire you, because that is what we always look forward every morning to inspire Ugandans. We set the agenda, we ensure that you're well versed with the happenings both locally and internationally to kickstart your day an informed person. So make it a date. Every weekday from 6:30 we are here. Today we are going to be looking at opportunities and challenges in labor, that is externalization of labor. Well, many people, every day you wake up to win bread for your family. Some do it home, some do it overseas. Since 2007, we've seen a number of Ugandans go to the Middle East as one of the decisions of government to create employment for Ugandans. That where they cannot find employment in Uganda, then there are policies, there are well-stipulated guidelines through which a Ugandan can leave the country and go overseas to make a living, to earn money. However, more times we've seen some Ugandans choosing to take alternative channels, and this is where we've had problems. With me in studios is Achishitandwe, who is the CEO in Jersey Limited, one of the companies that are into labor exportation. Since 2007, we've had over 165,000 Ugandans in the Middle East. If you remember, around 2007, many went in Iraq just after the war, and there were more security officers. But around 2000, then there 2015, there came in domestic workers, where the market was opened for countries like Saudi Arabia and the Kingdom of Jordan, where previously had arrangements. But also not forgetting that COVID-19 now moved in the picture, that is last year. So I want to look at the opportunities, the challenges that even with the pandemic, this sector has been able to thrive. You must remember they also went in lockdown, and it was in early December when they were open to start business again. Hashi, how have you been?
Robert, we've been fine right now. Of course, we're back to business, so I think we're getting better now.
I'm not seeing the COVID in you, not the disease, but of late now, in Uganda, we say, hey, but I'm not seeing the COVID in you.
Right.
Not meaning the disease, but of course for a sector that was under lockdown.
Right.
Maybe some people think,
right,
people shrink, but you're doing good.
Well, one of the most interesting things, Robert, for in this sector is that most of our dealings are out of the country. So what affects the rest of the world affects us directly. But right now, amongst this very interesting scenario, we've also had new opportunities come up, because most people have left these destination countries where they've created a vacuum which we have to fill with our people. So, you know, it's a bit of yeah and yeah, exactly.
Well, before we go any further into this topic, there's one thing I want you to first clarify.
Right.
Clarify. This is alarming. I witnessed it personally and I felt it wasn't really called for. But when I asked the authorities or the powers that be, they attributed this problem being that is the jam at the immigration offices.
Right.
For Ugandans who have bothered to take Port Bell Road, you remember that as early as 4 a.m. you'd find young girls, I want to be very specific, young girls, specifically young girls, that are craving to go out of the country in the Middle East and earn a living, mostly in Saudi Arabia, where we have agreements. But as early as 4, lines would right from the immigration offices up to, that is this abattoir, meat packers, you still owe. And when I asked Jacob Siminyu, who is the spokesperson of this department, he said that these guys now, because market is there, some countries are vacated because of COVID-19, and people are craving for domestic workers, you guys have resorted to getting express passports, and you bring girls as early as 4 a.m. to line in the, they make queues, wait for their passports, which is really unbecoming.
Right. Robert, first of all, I need to make this very categorically clear. There is a demand, yes. But are you aware, Robert, that immigration, they only have one printing machine, passport printing machine, just one, serving the whole country. I think when you realize that you have a big demand, you come up with measures. for example, the upcountry offices, passport offices, are not in operation right now. So what do you expect? And of course, you know, you're telling us that you're phasing out the old passports, bringing in the new passports, and the deadline is April 2022.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. What do you expect? So we have Ugandans, yes, who are seeking employment abroad, who need these passports. Secondly, you also have Ugandans who are replacing their old passports with the new passports. Then you also have Ugandans who are renewing their passports. Definitely, if you've got one printing machine and one printing place, then you expect that jam. But also, blaming the labor companies is also not good at all, because we're not getting these passports for free. We pay for them. If you're paying for an express passport, remember we are using e-passports, applications and stuff like that. So you're given an appointment. We have a very big schedule of when to deploy these Ugandans. So if, for example, I went today, I'm sure I would get an appointment for my passport in probably May or June. So what do you expect when you have a very big demand? So in the end, because they have one printing machine, it becomes very difficult for them.
That's why you resort to ensuring that you now stick to express.
That is the only way out. That is the only way out.
Because previously this wasn't the issue. Is it because of the demand now?
It's not
Previously,
really.
these girls were not getting express.
It's true, but you see, these are two items. Item one is you have one printing machine serving the whole country. That is a very big challenge. Secondly, yes, the demand is there, but also, if you put an express a kind of situation for us,
there,
yes, then that means you need to stick to it. But it is also becoming very difficult to manage that express situation as well. So in the end, you have very big numbers that can't be served in one go, but also you're not really looking at expanding or spreading this this service in other parts of the country. So what do you expect? So for me, I think what the immigration should be doing is to acquire more printing machines. Secondly, there is revenue coming from what we do. Of course, we pay for these passports, they're not for free. Why don't we allocate some funds to acquire more machines, and then off we go? So I don't think the issue of saying that it's labor companies is really carrying any water, really. Yeah.
You feel they should use the funds? Well, that is not how government works, unfortunately. These funds go to the consolidated fund, and then they are distributed accordingly. It's not what you collect that entirely goes to your administration or day-to-day work.
Right.
I think that is a voice that they have had, and they will also push forward to see that they can also open the upcountry offices, now that at least the vaccine is around, so that we have smooth operation of this. Actually, looking at the opportunities, let's begin with opportunities.
Right.
Yes, this creates more work, but also over a time, numbers keep on increasing. People are going outside Uganda, more so in the Middle East.
Right.
COVID-19 is a threat to everybody. And I always say, I don't know why Ugandans were the first to enter into every danger zone. You know, I think it's where there is trouble. We seem to be very courageous. Other countries are seemingly vacating some of these countries. The Philippines is no longer sending girls there. But here we are. Well, I don't know even the term to use. But I think we don't fear risks as long as there is employment. For us, we are still going there.
Right. Robert, first of all, I need to clarify on this. It's not that Ugandans don't fear risk.
When other countries were fearing, even in the armed forces, we went first. Iraq, when the gap was open in 2007, other countries were not there. We sent our guards there.
Well, there are two things. One, truth of the matter is that Ugandans are very, very professional people. I must tell you that. If you mention AMISOM, you know exactly how wonderful we've done in that area. Then for security guards, yes, after the Iraq War in 2003, rather when the beginning of the war, when the war in Iraq began in 2003, we had a vacuum of security guards. You know, Iraq had that vacuum, and the U.S. Through the Department of State came up with a program of employing third country nationals to occupy these areas, because of course they didn't have enough forces to fill these gaps. So when we went there in 2007, around there, we did a good job. So that gave us a good name, and that's why we, if you realize right now, wherever there is a conflict and there is a backup, for private security organizations or personnel, they normally look to Uganda as one of those countries because we did a very good job, and we are continuing to do a good job. That's why we still have people like guarding the U.S. Embassy in Iraq. I've externalized people there personally. We have some guards in Somalia as well. So I think we're doing a good job. And secondly, when you mentioned that the Philippines has left, which area did you mention? Because I didn't catch the area. You just said the Philippines has left.
In Middle East, most of the domestic workers.
Right.
There is a vacuum there. Philippines dominated this, I think, even before us.
Very, very many years. Over 30 years.
Over 30 years, the Philippines were dominating Middle East as working as domestic workers.
Right.
But of late, it seems they are not so much into this.
No,
either they are running away of. The situation is when you look at. Either we are eating up the market, or they have not. They have kind of slowed down on the rate of.
No, I will tell you something, Robert. Ugandans are doing a good job, and it's true. We're now competing in that market, and you can see we're eating more of the market right now, which is a very good thing. If you look at the remittances right now, we have $700 million coming from the Middle East alone. So it shows you that yes, but in 2010. We had about $51.3 million coming from the same area. So it shows you that, yes, there's been a very big growth. And in the end, you realize that those remittances affect us positively here as well. So I think it's not a bad thing. And I think the command of the English language has really helped us. The preparation, remember, Robert, we have what we call a pre-departure training we offer to our candidates, where the destination culture is tackled, financial literacy, and these other many other topics. Customer care is a very, very big ingredient in this whole training program. So you realize that is also helping us to position ourselves well. Most people think that doing domestic work is the lowest of the lowest. No. It's actually a launch pad for some other opportunities. We've had Ugandans who have left this country doing domestic work, but they're now managers in offices. So it's just a launch pad that gets you where you want. Yes.
Looking at some of the opportunities, actually, let's better understand.
Right.
As Uganda as a country, you've talked about the $700 million that you bring in annually from Ugandans in the Middle East, more so in the domestic sector. Many, I don't want to use that term, but you know how you refer to them here in Uganda, working in houses, and of course like housemates there, that's what they do the other side. What are some of these opportunities that we can cling on as a country?
Well, Robert, actually there are very many opportunities, but mainly domestic work has come along because most people feel that is where the biggest issues are coming from. So one, I need to clarify again. We have opportunities in security, like you mentioned. We have opportunities in the hospitality sector. I'm sure when you go to Dubai right now, you find Ugandans, managing some airports, jobs here and there. So you realize that it's not just that, but because of what has been happening around the domestic workers, and or sometimes audios, videos, and stuff like that. That is why we've been having that issue, and that's why we're highlighting that. But it's not true that that's the only thing we're doing. I personally have truck drivers working in at bases in Iraq, for example. I've had waiters, waitresses. I've had administrators doing office jobs. So it's not true that it's just domestic workers, but it's part of what we do. We've had Ugandans join banking in Canada, in Australia. So opportunities are there. Opportunities are there, and also in nursing. Nurses, health workers are needed in some of these countries. So yes, it's true. This is just a small portion, but only that because the demand is bigger. That is why you hear a lot of people say a lot about this, but it doesn't mean that that's the only thing we're doing. Yes, Robert.
A lot of people say a lot regarding domestic workers, and this is a sector I want us to throw more light for people to better understand. Actually, we thank God by His grace. Most, I think, because there's been COVID-19, that we've not had any bad story, nasty story regarding this very sector. But help us understand. At one time, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development even put a ban on exportation of domestic workers to the Middle East. We once know that we had an agreement with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Kingdom of Jordan. I'm reliably informed, but when it comes to the Kingdom of Jordan, I think it was suspended. Now we do not take girls. Let's try to dissect this sector more. Why do we often see unending, nasty, horrific stories in this sector?
First of all, Robert, truth of the matter is that earlier, many years ago, yes, there was a very, very big problem as far as this sector was concerned. And that problem came about because then we didn't have a clear system of managing that particular group. But in 2018, our team traveled to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia with the ministry officials led by the minister then, Hajat Mukwaya, and they signed a labor bilateral agreement with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to put proper systems of managing this whole part of migration. And indeed, when that was done, remember the two countries signed a labor bilateral agreement that included a contract which actually all these domestic workers sign. It's the same contract agreed upon by the two governments. So it's not that each company, for example, is signing its own. No, it's one shared, and each clause was actually agreed upon by the two nations. So that is more organized and more manageable. And there is also a system called Musanid. It's an online system, it's an IT system that helps in tracking. Okay, candidate X, she received her contract on this day. She signed her contract on this day, and it was, uploaded. The last signed page is what is uploaded on the system. So each government agency, each government labor ministries in both countries can tell what is happening there. So they are monitoring. Uganda is monitoring, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is monitoring. So that managed. So we now know exactly where the candidate is going, where that home is located, and these contracts are 2 years. Of course, you can renew after the 2 years expire. You come back home, then you go through the ministry again. They clear you, and then you go back and stuff like that. So that was one. Then we had also signed a labor bilateral agreement with the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. It's true, but there were some challenges, and when those challenges came upon, the ministry here suspended Ugandans going there until those issues have been resolved. So what I want to assure is that right now the government is managing very well, and the companies are also managing really well. For example, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, till recently we were working with a labor liaison officer who was in charge of monitoring, and that helped us in one way, but also each company is now required to employ Ugandans in the destination country companies. For example, in Saudi Arabia, Jersey has 5 people and 1 manager, and their job is very clear. Once there is a query from any candidate, handle that, it gets away. Secondly, if that is a very big problem for you as a supervisor, escalate it to the manager. Then the manager, in conjunction with, of course, the administration, that company, and our own company down here in Uganda, we were able to solve these issues. So,
Ashley, how would you best explain this? I will not use the word candidate because maybe that might sound a bit complicated, but I want the lay person directly understand what you're talking about. I'll use the word girls. Or women. Allow me to use this for better understanding. How would you best explain that you will see a girl on social media, a lady on social media, and say, I'm in Oman, I'm in Qatar?
Right. First of all, Robert, we've mentioned that we have 2 labor bilateral agreements, though one has been suspended, operationally at the moment. These are the only 2 places where Ugandans are allowed to go and do domestic work. Anyone who goes to Oman, Kuwait, and these other countries, you're doing it illegally, and it's not allowed. That is human trafficking, And anyone who is luring you into going to these countries that I've not mentioned, the two that I mentioned are Saudi Arabia and Jordan. Though Jordan, we're not, in operation now. So, apart from those two, there is no other country where Ugandans are supposed to go and work as a domestic worker. It's true, Robert, what you're saying. Me, I've had calls, someone calls you and tells you that, actually, I've got someone who wants to go to Oman, and say, no, guys, we're not externalizing any Ugandan to Oman because we don't have a labor bilateral agreement. Even Dubai, some people have called me and say, oh, me, I want to go and do domestic work in Dubai. We're not allowed to externalize any Ugandan to go and do domestic work in Dubai. Other categories, yes, but domestic work, no. So Ugandans, I appeal to you, kindly go through the proper channels, and the moment we're externalizing domestic workers to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That is all at the moment. So kindly, any other country apart from that, that one I've mentioned, please desist from externalizing any Ugandan or you seeking opportunities there. Thank you.
Let's also understand another issue. Many a times, girls that have come out to tell a tale of what they have gone through. Many a times, the chitandways that come out say that she was trafficked. Right. She didn't go through a genuine company. Right. I've seen officials in the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development also coming out and alluding to the same fact. So how does a Ugandan seeking employment in the countries where we have bilateral agreements know that this is a genuine company and this is not? Remember, these are girls. Sometimes they're very vulnerable, less educated. They know it's almost free to get there. So they're very gullible. So how do they ensure they go through a proper channel or a proper company?
Right. Robert, thank you for that very good question. First of all, our Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development has a website. Now I'm talking about someone who can access. I'm coming to what you want, Robert. I know exactly where we're going. That website has all licensed companies. Okay. Then, in each district, remember in each district in Uganda we have a DISO, or a district internal security officer. They are privy to this information. They are. Then, you also have a labor officer in each district. You also have this information. So, they have lists. If you are in a district X somewhere, and you need to get this information, you can't travel to Kampala, you can go to your district labor officer or the district internal security officer, and they avail you this information. Because you remember, all these recruitments we are doing, we have to go to these to different parts of the country to mobilize these Ugandans to come and take up these opportunities. So that means we work with district internal security officers and district labor officers, because you see, we don't just pick Ugandans. You have to go introduce yourself to the DPC, to the district internal security officer, that my name is Ashe Chitandwe, I come from Injazi Limited. I have an opportunity, I have these many opportunities, so I'm in your area to recruit these many Ugandans. This is part of my license, these are my documents, and this is what proves that I'm actually from this particular country, main company, and I'm licensed to do this. So once you introduce yourself, they of course have a list, so they check on their list what they have, and they're able to tell, okay, this company is indeed licensed, and kindly go ahead. So that's the best way you can get this information. Secondly, you can also visit our association offices. The Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agencies. We are located at BMK House in the Hotel Africana complex, level 4. You can go there and seek this information. And also, these opportunities are, basically avail to you. It's as simple as that. Yes, Robert.
Very interesting. Now, that means these cryings and cravings for help, please ensure you've done enough search before you continue. Ashe, also, I've been reading a couple of reports from Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, also listening from some of these clips of these girls, and there's been a concern raised that these young girls are made to pay for what is already being paid for. and therefore you end up making double profits. That for domestic workers, which most of these companies are getting, if you drove around town, went to some of these offices, you find lines, queues there, girls wanting to leave Uganda to go and get better pay, which is indeed true, that they get better pay if all goes well for them. But what is it that they pay for, and what is that they should not be paying for?
Right. Robert, before I answer that question, I wanted to highlight something very small. Here in Uganda, you realize that you have a graduate. Are you in agreement that you find a graduate who is earning 350,000?
Yes.
Exactly. So a domestic worker in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia earns 900,000 shillings. 900,000 shillings.
Take home is?
That is take home.
Okay.
That is take home, Robert. So that is exactly what he gets into her account. Secondly, when you do the mathematics, you realize that actually, just like you pointed out, we have a class of people who are not highly educated, who have not gone beyond O level, and I mean, they can express themselves, they can, I mean, they are hardworking. The only thing they lack is academic documents. So we are saying, as labor companies, if we can also take care of that particular group, make it more productive. As they're being productive, remember we're getting remittances back home. So if that group that may not be doing much because of reasons that are obvious, because if a graduate is earning 350, what of an S4 dropout, S3 dropout, how much are they going to be earning? So for us, our thinking is very clear. Have that group. If they can express themselves, they can read and understand their contracts and stuff like that, make them productive, let them go, work, improve their own livelihoods. Remember, school fees are paid, they are building houses, all this, dissemination of information and also funding gets down to the last person, So if you focus on that, take care of this group, make it productive, have remittances back home to grow our economy as well, then you're doing a great job. Secondly, you also have people who are educated, but they don't have jobs, but they need capital. You go abroad, work, get your capital, come back here, invest, do something that you know best. If you're from the education sector, for example, build a school or a nursery school or something. That's
I know one who underwent skilling, the Girl Child Presidential Initiative.
Right.
Then she went, when she came back, she had about 16 or 20 million.
Right.
She began a salon and she's doing very well.
Exactly. That is the whole point. And guess what? When these salons are open, Kcca is collecting what?
Revenue.
Exactly. These Ugandans that would be here doing nothing, they also get employment. So that's what we're focusing on. But now back to your question. Yes, there are fees that the candidates are supposed to be paying. For example, there is a 50,000 shillings approved by the Ministry of Gender and Labour and Social Development for registration. That is registration because, of course, people are using their stationery and stuff like that. So that is 50,000. Then also, before I engage you, Robert, as a candidate, I need to know your health status because I can't engage you when I don't know, because remember, I'm going to invest. So if you do a pre-medical, which you pay for, and it's usually not a very big amount, it's a small amount of money, have that. Then I know, Mr. Robert Chiravo, he's in a very good state to go and start working in country X. Very good. Then, remember we have what, we have to apply for your passport. We pay for the passports ourselves as a company. Secondly, Interpol is paid by ourselves. Air tickets are paid for. Yellow fever, and now the PCR test, that is COVID. So all that is handled by the company. So when it goes beyond that, or when somehow the money or the amounts varying in different companies, then there is a problem there. That is what I can tell you. But as far as I know, and this is what exactly happens at Njazi Limited, that's what we do. So those are, apart from that, I don't know any other fees. But if you're going through, rather if you have an opportunity in a country, in let me say Dubai mainly, remember this is not domestic work. These are the opportunities. Normally you have to pay, fees and stuff like that. But I can explain that the reason why you hear people paying 4 million, 5 million shillings and stuff like that. It's because most of the work we get here it goes through HR consultancies in Dubai. So a company in Dubai goes to an HR consultancy, says I need 500 drivers, for example. So that HR consultancy will charge you, the Ugandan company, to get you these opportunities. I've gotten you this opportunity and you have to pay me this much for me to offer you these opportunities. So that is where the problem comes in. So now these companies...
And those are not domestic work jobs, that is to be more clear.
Yes, these are not domestic workers, like I said. So then, these HR consultancies are charging us for these opportunities. So a Ugandan company has to seek this opportunity, but they have to make this payment. So they make, in the end, they have to make the candidate pay for the opportunity, so that they're able to get their own commission. So that's where it comes from. Right.
Well, so far looking at the challenges, yes, there are there, and Ashi has explained them. Opportunities, COVID-19, and something you won't believe that for labor externalization, it has created more opportunities for them as Ugandans. Ashi, time is not our best ally.
Right.
But let me have your final remarks regarding labor exploitation or labor externalization in this country, more so at such a particular time of COVID-19.
Very simple, Robert. Labor externalization in Uganda is here to stay. Like I said, it's a government program, and all Ugandans have to embrace it. We need to work together and see how best we can help our country grow. We have a very big young population that is not doing so much in the country. So this is one way of making them productive. So my focus and what I would appeal to all Ugandan government agencies is to work together and see how we can help these young people to be more productive. Now, like we mentioned about the passports, let's have our regional offices reopen. Let's have more printing machines to see how best we can facilitate this process and ensure that Ugandans get employment and we benefit from the remittances as a country.
Well, thank you, Ashi Chitando, who is the director in Njazi Limited, one of the labor exporting companies in this country. All said, one thing that is very important, please pass through the right channels. It may take some time, but at the end of the day, it is safe. My father always tells me shortcuts are risky.
Exactly.
They get you there, but sometimes they're very, very risky. So when you find traffic jams, stick to the main road. In terms of seeking for jobs outside Uganda, please ensure you go through the right channels. Like Ashi has explained, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development has got a list of these companies. And also, hold our name high when you're there. Today, Ugandans are being respected, and of course, every home would want to, because those that went before managed to keep the flag high. Represent Uganda very well when you get there. Government has provided this platform that where you can't find meaningful employment home, then you can find it overseas. There are proper procedures to follow. Have a lovely day. Ruben is here to take you through the sports updates, and later Jagenda Semakula will take you through Good Morning Uganda Extra. However, don't forget, tomorrow we'll be at Parliament, where we'll be broadcasting from as we mark or celebrate 100 years of Parliament in Uganda. Remembering that we first had our first sitting on the 23rd of March 1921 when the Legico first met in Uganda. We'll be discussing this and more tomorrow, but also don't forget to keep on pushing in on our poll question this morning, which was, what is your most memorable of the 100 years of Parliament? Keep those views coming in. What's your most memorable moment as we celebrate 100 years of Parliament? And we'll read them out for you tomorrow on the D-Day. Have a lovely day. God bless you. Stay safe.
Stay connected to the largest 4G network in Uganda, anytime, anywhere, using the Airtel 4G Pocket Mifi, available at only 123,000 Uganda shillings. This comes with 15 GB free, valid for a month. You can connect up to 10 users at a go and still enjoy a shared yet unmatched internet experience. Dial *175*